Andrew, and I'm hoping to spend the next 5 minutes to tell you why I personally think this paper, Uncertainty Estimation for Language Reward Models, is very underrated. And this paper is by Adam and Jeffrey. And there are 3 reasons why I think this paper is underrated. Firstly, is the explanation of motivation, why uncertainty quantification matters. Secondly, it's a negative result paper, in that at the end of the day, the paper says that the method they try for uncertainty quantification doesn't work, and yet they still share it, which encourages sharing failure. And I'll explain why that's important. And lastly, there's just great documentation throughout. So it tells people as to what not to try. So on the first reason, explanation of motivation, as a Malaysian, as I've written in my essay as well, I truly believe that distribution robustness and mitigating harms of distributional shift is very important as we build systems that impact more and more people throughout the world. These systems for language models will soon take over jobs, will soon take over or help enable people to do things a lot more efficiently through algorithms. And if we are not very careful, as we've seen with adversarial attacks, we know that all these algorithms could actually cause harms to certain racial groups or certain socioeconomic people who are not well represented in these models. So that is why I believe active learning is very important, and why I've spent the last few months working on RLHF and uncertainty quantification. So in this paper, it talks about active learning. And what active learning is being able to choose the next data that most benefits the outcome of the model that you're training. So for an example, if I have a 1 billion data set, what if there's a way that I could just choose 1 million and have it to have a similar, if not equivalent outcome? And the benefits of uncertainty quantification are quite obvious. Firstly is efficiency. Training reward models are very hard, especially when you're training reward models with data sets that are hard to get. So for an example, lowly represented languages like Malay, or maybe even other languages where data set is very rare, or even worse still, the language comparison between that language and English is very rare. So if there's a way where we can do UQ better, then we can gather those data much more efficiently without spending too much resource, right? And second is robustness. As I've explained, being able to make sure that our model, A, doesn't act too confidently in uncertain areas, but also B, to be able to confidently tell you that there are areas where it's uncertain about, be it epistemic or esoteric, is very helpful for us to train our model better for distributional robustness, right? Now, the second reason why I love this paper is that it's a negative result paper. So what happened was that we were trying out, we had similar ideas with what this paper wanted to do, which is, use an ensemble of reward models to do RLHF, such that we will be able to quantify uncertainty to do better on a certain downstream task. Now, as we were trying 1 month in and we were, struggling with system stuff and stuff like that, we were reading papers, we stumbled upon this paper. And immediately we saw that, the result was negative. And that was very helpful because it saved us a lot of time from trying out what they tried. And so the fact that, they documented very well, and they also had a hypothesis as to why it didn't work because of KL divergence between the policy model and the foundation model that deters the policy model from over-exploiting the reward model, let us know that, so KL divergence in itself was necessary, but it's a double-edged sword that prevents proper exploration. Made us rethink whether there's other ways to do it. And it's also very good because, to my third point, that it has great documentation. Firstly, they documented their training pipeline very well, right? And that helped us to look into what they were doing, what they tried, whether it's a hyperparameter thing or whether it's something that's proper. But also secondly, they recommended more, other avenues for us to try. One being linear hypermodels. We went down that route and read a few papers, and then we found, more up-to-date Bayesian models, such as epistemic neural networks, which is useful for doing joint predictions and useful for doing uncertainty quantification. And that is something that we're exploring right now. So ultimately, this paper, with its great documentation, helped illuminate and clarify what is it that we need to research more about, and what is it that they've tried, and maybe, if it makes sense, then we shouldn't even bother, or we wouldn't spend too much energy thinking about it. Which is why I love this paper. I love it when people share failure, because that actually saves a lot of time, even though it is possibly a no result. So that is why I love this paper, and I hope more people would write papers like this. I hope you enjoyed this 5-minute explanation of why I love this paper, and maybe share more papers my way. Thank you.